I'm still in this rap game, giving it my all. If Nas wants a battle, tell him to meet me in the booth, I'm ready, but he's not looking for any beef. He's enjoying his millions, probably around $150 to $200 million. Exactly, so let me do my thing while I'm still on the field. You were cool with him. He didn't bother you then. They don't really know Nas like that. If a kid is 22, he was born in 2003. Not all of them are. Clueless know the history. Jim Jones was never better than Nas. He'll never be better than Nas. And I'm saying this as someone who isn't even a big Nas fan. I love Dipset, I respect the Diplomats, and I ride for Burgame. But we're not about to rewrite history just because Jim's feeling himself. Jim Jones went on Shannon Sharpe's podcast and claimed he's more influential than Nas, not just more relevant, more important to the culture. And as soon as he said that, everything shifted. 50 Cent didn't throw shade in a post or say a name. He just dropped an old federal transcript on Instagram. He let the streets figure it out. Now, fans are pulling out wiretaps. Old interviews are resurfacing, and Jim's hitting the gym, acting like he's preparing for a war or a Rikers bid. But this isn't just about Nassau, just about ego. It feels like 50 is using this moment to remind the industry that he's untouchable, and why certain people avoided indictments. Jim may have wanted to prove a point, but now he might have triggered something way bigger than rap. When Jim brings up Nas, it always hits different because this tension didn't start yesterday. This wasn't a random jab at a rap legend. Their history dates back to 2002, when Nas went off on Hot 97 and randomly called Cam'ron's album trash for no clear reason. That was enough to send Dipset into full attack mode, and Jim jumped in. Head first. From there, it got wild. Nas and Dipset traded shots through mixtapes. Jim made it personal. He threatened to smack Nas's kufi off and kept that same energy in tracks like We Fly High and It's More Than Music. But here's where it gets deeper. Jim actually admired Nas just a year ago. He wasn't saying anything negative about him. I never got to meet Nas or have a real conversation with him, but I respected him. He was always one of my favorites growing up. I've heard you say that before. Yeah, since back in the day, since barbecue. He was the one who really painted the picture of that dope boy. Crack era hustle rap before anyone else did, but that respect quickly turned into subtle shade. Everything flipped when Jim appeared on Fat Joe and Jadakiss' podcast, and Fat Joe stirred the pot. I saw a clip on Instagram where a young fan compared you to Nas, Joe said. A young dude? Yeah, he said, you had more hits. That you taught him how to rock a BB Simon belt. That your swag influenced him. That's wild, because in my era, Nas was a god that could have just stayed on the internet. But Jim had more to say. He leaned in hard. I always admired Nas. I was in 11th grade when Barbecue dropped. I looked up to him, his clothes, his lyrics, everything. I was a huge fan. But when I entered the game, I had to become my own man. Rivals become idols. I created my own style. And now, the kids look to me the same way I once looked to Nas. It's a whole new generation. Then, he dropped one of the most reckless takes in recent rap memory. I blew up, and now these kids love me. A lot of them don't even know Nas. If you're 22, you were born in 2003. Not all, but most. Jim didn't just say he's still relevant, he claimed to be more influential than Nas. Yes, Nas from Queensbridge, the man behind Illmatic Gods, Sun King's Disease. The same Nas still selling out Madison Square Garden in his 50s. But Jim wasn't backing down. He didn't hesitate. In fact, he doubled down. Me, Jim Jones, not Dipset, not anyone else, just me. Check my record. Compare it to everyone else's. Look at the Billboard charts. Compare my entries to theirs. I'm not hating, I just hear the comparisons. And people act funny when it comes to me. I've been killing it in this game. That interview didn't just stir the pot, flipped it and lit the match before the smoke even cleared. Jim showed up on another show, Shannon Sharpe's Nightcap. He was ready to push the narrative further. Jim joined Shannon and Chad Ochocinco Johnson, and right away, Shannon went in. Can I ask you a question, Jim? Yeah, you smoke, right? Were you high when you said you were better than Nas? I might have been a little lit, but what he said next made fans stop the video. I'm way more influential than Nas. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah, I know I messed up when I mentioned sales, I don't want to get into that whole thing, but Nas was hot when I was in high school. Nas was dope. We loved him. He had a moment. But just when you think he's done, Jim pulls out. Another take, he starts bringing up old beef with Nas from the early 2000s. Says he was once Nas's biggest fan, but now he's past him in influence. He gives Nas props for his fashion, calling him one of the freshest ever, but circles back to the same point. Nas doesn't move the streets like he does. Nas was always behind Jay-Z and DMX. He never had the kind of influence we needed, except for that first album. I used to copy his style, because he was fresh and had all the hustler fits. I saw him on TV with one of the dopest albums ever. But after Belly, I lost interest. Shannon wasn't buying any of it. Bro, you've been around but lyrically. Let's be honest. Look at how you dress. You're not even in the same space as I'm in. I could be in the church if I wanted to. You can't tell me where I belong. I don't know who gassed you up, but you, trippin', you clearly on something. Jim got so defensive, he started roasting Shannon for his outfit. You got all these old heads in their feelings because I said I'm better than Nas. Man, look at you. Ain't nobody choosing you over Nas, not from Dipset either. You holding on too tight to the past. By this point, Ocho Cinco was just sitting there letting Shannon and Jim go at it. I'm still killing it. Check my stats. I'm rapping. At a high level, I'd run circles around Nas today. I'm serious. Then Jim claimed Shannon only invited him to get more views, and that made Shannon snap. This is the biggest podcast you've ever been on. Name one bigger. This is where people come when they blow up. I make stars, don't act like I need you. Then Shannon got serious. He went from interviewer to challenger real quick. If Jim wanted smoke, Shannon was down to hit the gym. You need to buy bigger clothes? Big fella? You trying to get me in the gym? Oh, we can do that. You talking weights or cardio? Whatever you want, man. Since you got money, put some on it. Back up your talk. If we working out, I'll outlast you. You might be bigger than me. Sure, maybe stronger. But if we working out, I'll leave you behind. This ain't what you want. You're doing all this talking, but you don't want the smoke. Instead of clapping back at 50 directly, Jim tried to spin the moment into a workout, flexed Shannon to a gym war to prove he still got it, still relevant. But while Jim was flexing muscles, 50 was already making moves quietly. And that individual one label? It's still hanging heavy in the background. Online, the fans were eating this up. The comments section went wild over a retired NFL star standing up for Nas like that. One fan wrote, Shannon did what Fat Joe and Jada should have done. Jim's delusional. Shannon, thank you for saying the truth. Because why were they so quiet during Jim's first rant? And while 50 was silently watching all this chaos unfold, he wasn't laughing. But right when you thought things couldn't get messier, it got even more petty. That's when fans dug up an old clip. You need to buy bigger clothes, big fella. You trying to get me in the gym? Oh, we can do that. You talking weights or cardio? Whatever you want, man. Since you got money, put some on it. Back up your talk. If we working out, I'll outlast you, maybe stronger. But if we working out, I'll leave you behind. This ain't what you want. You're doing all this talking, but you don't want the smoke. Instead of clapping back at 50 directly, Jim tried to spin the moment into a workout flex challenging Shannon to a gym war to prove he still got it, still relevant. But while Jim was flexing muscles, 50 was already making moves quietly. And that individual one label, it's still hanging heavy in the background. Online, the fans were eating this. The comments section went wild over a retired NFL star standing up for Nas, like that .1 fan wrote. Shannon did what Fat Joe and Jada should have done. Jim's delusional. Shannon, thank you for saying the truth. Because why were they so quiet during Jim's first rant? And while 50 was silently watching all this chaos unfold, he wasn't laughing. But right when you thought things couldn't get messier, it got even more petty. That's when fans dug up an old clip. But it got, honestly, I can't. Like if it was like Jim Jones, imagine putting a pen to paper to write about him. Give us something nice. Give it something nice about him. How? How did you do that? What's the first sentence? What the underscore? You're rapping about, dude, I'm not anxious to hear the Jeff Jones diss Nervous with like VI pop. Even Eminem dissed him lightly back in the day. Right? Even cannabis like Eminem, like if we go at it, dog, we going to go hard, you know what I'm saying? But he's a Jim Jones, like, I mean, I'm stuck you getting your money. Yeah, exactly. That's the ultimate disrespect. Jim didn't just get ignored by NAS. Back then, he got laughed off the stage. And now, in 2025, that same energy is back. But it didn't end there. While NAS stayed quiet and Shannon stayed swole, someone else was watching it all from the shadows. As soon as 50 Cent saw Jim claiming to be better than NAS, he didn't even flinch. He laughed, pulled out receipts from his vault of petty, and revived one of the most controversial rumors in hip-hop. He called Jim Individual One. That label made the internet explode, because if you know, you know. Individual One isn't just a nickname, it's a federal label straight from the Tekashi 6 IX9 in wiretap. Back in 2018, during Tekashi's 9 Trey Bloods trial, prosecutors played a phone call allegedly featuring Jim Jones. He wasn't named in court, they called him Individual. Someone on that call was telling gang members to violate Tekashi for turning his back on the crew. Jim's voice was never confirmed in court, and he was never charged. But the streets, the blogs, and especially 50, they never forgot. And now, with Jim puffing up on podcasts and trying to bait NAS into a battle, 50 saw the perfect time to remind everyone who Jim really is. He reached into his IG vault and reposted a meme he once deleted fast. It said, "So that's why they ain't pull him in. Say it ain't so, Jimmy." Go back to 2019, the Shade Room posted an update on Tekashi's trial. A verified reporter said Tekashi named Jim Jones as part of 9 Trey, and 50 couldn't help but jump in. Then came the infamous video of 50 pretending to hide. "I'm hiding out in Texas. Please, whatever you do, don't tell them I'm in San Antonio. Don't tell them I'm staying at the Four Seasons. Just please don't. It's too much pressure. I don't know what to do. I'm afraid for my life." Jimmy is gang. The internet laughed, but Jim was fuming. And here's where it turns. 50 didn't start this beef with NAS. His real issue is with Jim, and this whole NAS mess gave him the perfect excuse to drag him again. Go back to 2007. 50 brought Jim Jones and Joel Santana on stage during a GeoNet show. Dipset was already falling apart, and Cameron saw that move as pure disrespect. Then, in 2019, during Tekashi's trial, Jim Jones got labeled Individual One on a wiretapped phone call. He wasn't charged, but the name stuck, and the internet ran wild with snitching rumors. Jim saw all of 50's posts, every single one. At first, he stayed quiet. Then he posted a throwback Bird Gang photo dripping in Dipset vibes. The caption, "Why you keep lying? LOL. I'm going back to sleep. Free Male Matrix till it's reversed." Male Matrix is his longtime friend, doing over 11 years on racketeering charges. That post was a shot at 50 calling his version of the story fake. But Jim didn't stop. He dropped another Jim Flex pic, this time calling out Shannon. "Somebody tell Shannon Sharpe, don't duck this challenge. You said it on air. Don't walk it back now. My sneaker's tied. You challenged me in public. Now finish it." Then he added, "Ocho said he don't want it public. Let's do it private." His rep as an athlete on the line. "As long as you're the witness, I'm good. I don't duck smoke, size don't matter where I'm from, run it." So, while 50 was trolling, Jim acted like he was ready for battle. And to top it off, Jim posted, "If you 40 plus arguing with me about NAS, you already lost. I baited y'all. My streams are up. I'm showing older artists how marketing works. Y'all stuck in the past, tighten up." Then he added, "I said what I said. P.S. I'll out-rap any artist from my era. Step in the booth, bring cash. This ain't free. We're outside. We working." But the wildest part? While all this was happening, NAS stayed silent. Jim kept baiting, kept calling himself more influential. So if NAS ever does respond, it won't be a diss track, it'll be lyrical murder, and fans, they're calling Jim out. "Jimmy, you shouldn't have said that. You and NAS are only 3 years apart. NAS is destroying you. You asked us to check stats. We did. You got a couple tracks. NAS has classics. Let's look at NAS's recent projects. Since 2018, he's been dropping heat. Jim, when was your last album? Oh wait, you have been putting out music, but no one's checking. Right now, Jim's still baiting. NAS is still quiet, and 50. still pulling strings from the shadows. If that wiretap exists, Jim might have talked himself into something way bigger than rap beef, because when 50 goes quiet, that's when the bomb drops. So now the big question is, will Nas finally step up and shut this down with bars? Or will 50 let the streets bury Jim and just drop the truth when it's too late?